Alright, Earthlings! Welcome back to the Thundering Dice channel with your hosts, the Thundering Dice Brothers, Sven and
Ian.
And we come in light of some sad but totally predictable news. The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime has been canceled. We will not get Season 4. We will not get 5, 6, 7, 8. We will never get a Rand moment.
No, we will never get a Rand moment. We will never see him actually fall in love with any of the people he is supposed to fall in love with. We will never see Moraine not die as she was supposed to in the next season, even though that wasn't going to happen anyways because the writers are assholes.
We'll never get to see the awesome character development. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I mean, we're never going to see the bad people's characters be awesome at being bad.
Yes.
That was the most fun part of the show, I have to say. And now, unfortunately, you have to say hindsight, in retrospect, those were fun. Moghedien and Lanfear and Ishamael were perfect casting choices. They brought a really nice take on the characters. They really brought them to life. I'll be sad to see them go. I think Rosmund Pike did an admirable job as Moraine. I know she's very involved with the books in other ways and other respects, so I really hope that she gets to continue to narrate the audiobooks.
Yes, I hope she continues that, because I really dig her narration. She does a good job on all the voices, the different cadences, her accents. I mean, it's pretty spectacular listening to her read them. So I hope that they continue that and finish off all the books.
And they shouldn't really be tied together at all, right? I mean, Amazon isn't producing, this isn't an Audible thing. It's going straight to Apple Books stuff, right?
I'm actually not sure who is behind it. I mean, I have them all on Apple.
I mean, Sony probably, well, no, who owns Tor owns the rights to the novels still, probably?
Yeah, I'm gonna
and so they probably licensed it to either Apple or, and it's not Audible. Because they already have their whole Kate Reading and Michael Kramer audiobooks on there and Audible, and they have since they were recorded, or since Audible launched. So, I couldn't imagine them throwing a competing narration up on their own site. Especially because Kate Reading and Michael Kramer do a great job. I mean, that's how I first listened to all the audiobooks. So,
yeah, I've yet to hear their takes.
It's very much more just plainly read. They don't try to go for accents or whatever, but they always, if I remember correctly, they always narrate the same characters. So like every chapter, if it's a Matt chapter, it'll be, Michael Kramer. Okay. But now that I say that out loud, I think I may be wrong about that. It's been a while since I've listened to it in English. I've been listening to it in German. That's how cool I am.
Yes, listening it to in the wrong language. That's how cool you are. Let's start a debate about how you want to listen and read everything in its native tongue and never trust a translation, because translators lie.
I take that personally.
Which is why I know it's true.
I don't lie. I just have to, change the idioms and colloquialisms. I mean, they don't work in English and German the same way. But speaking of translations, an adaptation is a translation in some way. Look at that. Perfect segue back to the actual topic of this video. Wheel of Time is gone.
Yes.
So, what did we, my feelings afterwards were, okay, that's a shame. I was, genuinely sorry to hear that news. Because for all of the criticisms, justified criticisms, that we have levied against the show, I always still wanted to see where it was going. I really thought Season 3 was better. It was getting things back on track, at least. It was starting to hit some important plot points. And, the end of the season really, it really seemed like they were confident that it was going to go on. Nothing is actually resolved at the end of the episode. I mean,
no, yeah, unlike the ending of Season 1 and 2, which completely close out the stories that they were trying to tell with neat bows, Season 3 leaves pretty much everything, actually not pretty much, everything open-ended to roll into Season 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it loses all its good momentum that it did get out of Season 3. That being said, whilst you are right that they were hitting certain plot points, finally, they were still miles and miles and miles off how close Season 1 was to the book.
Ironic. We're saying that now because Season 1 has problems just from storytelling and everything perspective, but they actually did basically hit all the correct storyline moments. The flight from the two rivers, the attack on Emma's Field, the flight out of the two rivers, Shadow Logoth, the band, or the group, being split up. All those things were hit correctly, and then it all fucking went off the rails for the last two episodes.
Yeah, definitely. But at least like the overarching points are there.
He still went to the Eye of the World.
Yeah,
exactly. He still had an conflict with, well, we know it's a Shamael, but he thought it was Balsamon.
Yeah, exactly. So at least they were more or less close. I mean, like, they followed season 1 relatively well in comparison to season 2 and 3 for how they followed in the books. But the thing that, like, the overarching feeling that I had when I instantly read the cancellation on Deadline, I was like, I was sad a little bit. But it was replaced really quickly with a boiling rage that Wheel of Time was the one that was canceled and not Rings of Power. Because justifiably, Rings of Power is a whole lot worse on every fucking metric except lighting. And I know our audience has fought us on this, but no, trust me, it is not our TV. I've watched this on multiple TVs. I've watched this on multiple Macs. I've watched this on multiple PCs, on different screens, everywhere. It is not our thing. The lighting in Wheel of Time sucks. And every single time it's supposed to be light, they still find a way to fucking shoot it in the dark.
And you only need to see the comparison between the Rings of Power and Wheel of Time on the same television, from the same streaming service, side to side. No problems identifying small details and textures and stuff like that in the dark in Rings of Power, and the same cannot be said at all for the Wheel of Time. I mean, for us, it was sometimes borderline unwatchable. You know, if you didn't watch it at night in the dark, you missed so much, and it was very frustrating to go back like, what the fuck is going on in that scene? But yeah, that is what it is. Yeah, Rings of Power keep continuing on is frustrating in light of Wheel of Time getting canceled. I really think, I mean, Rings of Power has a problem sticking to source material. Wheel of Time certainly had a problem sticking to source material, and
but at least they tried.
Many people will be discussing why did it fail? Why did the viewership not increase? Why did Amazon not want to invest in its completion? Why did Sony not be able to negotiate? Why was Rafe Judkins unable to negotiate it as a showrunner? You know, he's the voice of the show and of the fans, ostensibly, to advocate for us to keep it on the air. Why did all these things break down? And a big part of it to me is you had a perfect source material and you added shit and you changed shit that didn't need to be. I understand adaptations are a thing. And we were really trying to watch this with the perspective, okay, fine, it's not going to be the same. It's another turning of the wheel. Canonically, that actually fits. So fuck it, let's roll with that. And it was more watchable that way. But now that it's over, you know what? Why it failed is because it fucking didn't stick to the story that it was already written. People fell in love with the characters and the story as written. People love to complain about Egwene and Nynaeve and Matt and all these things that change and all their annoying character traits in the books. And yet for all of that, we all fucking still love the story. We love to bitch about these characters because for better or worse, they're so important to our lives as we're reading them.
Yeah.
It's just something that they did not capture in the show.
Yeah. Most of the characters, you didn't care if they lived or died. I mean, like, Rand is a good example. Like, I never felt any danger for Rand in any scenario that he ever found himself in. He was just always doing things or not doing things.
Or someone else is doing those things for him.
Yeah, and he was just kind of lumbering along. Like, oh, look, that's cool. There's a merch roll. Well, let's run away.
When the finale to season 2 is a perfect example of that. You know, all right, so he walks in badassly and just fucking nukes a bunch of Sanshan, including Turok there. Which is, okay, that's a shame.
Yes,
because one of the defining parts of the second book for me, one of the coolest parts of the climax, and is it necessarily like the most important story point? No, but man, like Robert Jordan was able to tell this really deep story without any backstory. And so we have this moment of Rand and High Lord Turok. Rand is terrified. He refuses to embrace the source or embrace the void because he knows it'll take him too close to the source. So he tries to fight a true Blade Master without using the flame and the void that Tam taught him, the oneness. And he's getting his ass kicked, and Turok is like, all right, make your peace, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, like he's kind of disgusted that Rand has a heron marked blade.
Yes. And then Rand finally, like, embraces the sword, embraces the void, but not the source, and ends the fight awesomely. Such a cool scene, and we don't get to see it at all.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, the prelude to the actual climax of the book. Like, god damn, that's how cool it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you? How much did you all like the Matt beating up on Galad and Gawyn scene?
Oh yeah, that was the best scene in season 3. Actually, I mean, like honestly, I loved that. Just the quarterstaff fight. That was great. Matt just goes full on. You know, he puts his head on the top of the quarterstaff. You know, says some, like mumbles something, gets into his stance, and then action.
Yeah,
and he just cracks heads, cracks skulls, and stops right at the killing blow.
Yeah. So we all loved that, and that was in the show. Rand could have had that too. Mm-hmm. And you could have had multiples of them too. Like, come on, guys. It was about the Dragon Reborn. Rafe, you fucking dropped the ball. And ultimately, despite the problems of COVID and replacing Matt unexpectedly mid-season 2, it's your responsibility to right the ship. And you didn't in season 2. You barely got it there in season 3, and now you're gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And you disappointed a lot of people. And now think, you know what's really shitty? Sorry, this.
Oh no, go for it.
They reprinted every fucking Wheel of Time book with Amazon Prime fucking shit on it.
It's true, they did. They did.
What a farce.
That's so. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, I almost want to get. I want to find those, like, the reprints at a thrift store and buy them and just like put them in a separate case. On below like our original prints with like a little banner saying Rafe got strafed or something random like that, you know. I don't know, but like, just, oh yeah, you're right, all the reprints.
Yeah, I think that's fucking hilarious.
It's just a clusterfuck. I mean, everything about Wheel of Time, the show, was just a clusterfuck. There was never a good moment from the inception of it to the ending. I mean,
there were a couple good episodes, and there were some cool
yeah.
moments. Don't discount them, I think, but they were just so far and few between.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like, it's a seasoning in a dish. If I can only taste it 1/4 of the time, it's a pretty bland dish.
Well, no, it's not even 1/4 of the time. We have one episode that was proper. That's the glass
So
columns.
1/8 of the show right there of the season 3.
And so we have that.
The Emonds Field battle was acceptable.
No, it wasn't. It was not acceptable.
It's so hard for me to say.
Yeah,
even
they
like,
ruined it. The opening of the gates, the way Fane happens, like all of it. Like they started it out more or less okay, and then just, you know, went really stupid by having once again Alana return to being a pincushion.
Yeah.
The fucking Matt's sisters being able to channel really well and do a bullet instantly without any training, and then the opening of the gates, as I said, letting the Trollocs in. It's game over, and then surrendering to Dane. Like,
yeah,
like it was a better episode than the rest of than everything.
Because he had
a
neat, you know, Perrin moment where he comes out and wielding a sword.
Yeah.
The
axe and the hammer.
Yes, axe and hammer, and just you know, makes the Trollocs his bitches. It's great, but that's the only little good part of it. You're right, and that's a whole episode that was technically very plot driven, plot focused. So it was, you know, there was a battle for Emonds Field led by Perrin, and there were White Cloaks there.
Yeah.
And Trollocs and Pat and Fane.
Yeah.
All those things were there, just sort of
mishmashed and
told weirdly and
together.
And what I really don't get is the source material, while not always describing an entire battle stroke by stroke,
that one,
Emonds Field was told stroke for stroke.
Yeah.
You could have shot it exactly as written, and it was even, you could have shot in the daylight because it happened in the fucking daylight in the book.
Yeah.
And it's not less impactful because it's in the daylight. I mean, I don't know why it has to be at night and like hidden, and I don't know why you need Maxim to deliver, like, you know, rousing speeches. I don't know why I don't know. It's plus Maxim was totally fucking invented, made up character that we didn't need to hear about. I mean, Alana and Verin in the Two Rivers, we literally never see anything from their point of view, from their perspective, and that's fucking good. Mm-hmm. Because who do we see perspective of?
Perrin.
Yeah. Who's the main character of that story?
Perrin.
So fucking hell.
And then also, this is kind of like a little aside though, but night fighting is like the soldier's worst nightmare. Night fighting and city fighting, you don't want to be engaged in these two types of warfare. So constantly having most fights at night and things like that, especially in like the show, just really
because the
wears down.
Trollocs have nothing against sunlight.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're completely fine in it.
It's just running water they don't like.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't have any problem fighting or marching in sunlight. And yeah, the raid on Emonds Field and in the Eye of the World is at night.
But
but that's
in the book, you don't see it happen. You only see Rand's perspective after it. So
yeah, exactly.
Even that,
and you definitely can't discount the element of surprise.
Oh,
Trollocs do see and smell better at night than
Yeah.
humans do.
Yeah.
And Murdral don't have eyes, so I assume they see exactly as well as they do in daylight or nighttime.
Yeah,
however
yeah,
they see.
Yeah, like the night fighting at the very end of Wheel of Time in the last battle and things like that makes a lot of sense
Because
then
they
you're
blot out the sun.
Yeah, you got that. You're grinding humanity down.
It
You have
takes
endless
fucking forever. I don't remember what the time frame for the last battle actually is.
Yeah,
but I just know the chapter is longer than like the fucking Hobbit.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is a huge chapter. And even that doesn't encapsulate actually the whole last battle. It's just called the last battle, but there's it still goes way on.
And, yeah.
Too, yeah.
The last battle is essentially the entire last book.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It is it's the last book. So yeah, I mean, like, it's sad that the show is gone to a certain respect.
We're just not going to see these things come to life.
Yeah,
like they're only just, they're going to be books on words on a page that will live on forever, and visions in our minds as we read them. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of cool.
It is cool to see them in the medium. Yeah, it's nice to watch your characters, even in a bad way and poorly written and poorly lit. It's still cool to see actors portray your favorite characters who, I mean, at least for me and my brother, we grew up on these stories, so they're kind of integral into our psyches. We, it's
we read them as they were released. We reread them as the new one was going to come out, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like that's why I liked watching the show, for all its flaws.
And that's why we were so critical of it, because
it could have been
so much better. And there were moments where it was there. It just couldn't bring it all together. And it's a shame that one of the most highly valued companies in the world won't invest and continue to invest in this. Like, I guess there are a lot of problems with the way that streaming or shows are going right now. These long wait times between seasons is a real momentum killer, I think.
Yes.
Maybe what some shows might want to consider doing is taking a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings approach. I don't know how feasible this is, but shooting a couple seasons back to back. So instead of having one 8-episode season every 18 months, which means that by the time Wheel of Time was over, I'd be like in my 50s probably.
Yeah.
Like do it where you bust out a bunch of it at once, commit to multiple seasons of filming at once. Is it grueling for the actors? Yeah, but I think you can make it worth it. I mean, look how well it worked for the Lord of the fucking Rings. They busted out 3 epic movies back to back to back in like 2 years of filming marathon.
Yeah.
If you can get the financing and you can do it, I would say that's a better way to build momentum and continue momentum, because once you have those 3 done, now you have 3 fucking years, or let's say even faster than that. Be even cooler than that, you can do it in like 24 months. Release one every 8 months. So in 1 year, you kind of get like 1.5 seasons, and it's great, and there's less generation time in between. You got 2 months of show, 6 months off, 2 months of show, 6 months off, 2 months of show. And then while that's happening, you get to keep fucking filming shit.
Yeah. In this respect, the American streaming services need to take a leaf out of the BBC's playbook and pump out content properly in a proper time span where you get like, oh, look, there's 3 seasons in 1 year.
And maybe do something more akin to what Apple does. I know Apple's streaming numbers aren't amazing compared to Amazon's and Netflix's and stuff. It's a lot smaller of a service, but it's to its credit as well, because most of the stuff they pump out is of a higher standard. They produce less and it's better.
Yeah.
It's less like, pop trash kind of stuff. Like, for better or worse, Reacher is really fucking popular. It's going to keep being popular because it appeals to
the highest
lowest common denominator. I mean, the story is awful, has huge plot holes. You can boil down the appeal of Reacher is competency porn.
Yes.
It's a big ex-military hero righting wrongs and
Beating the shit out of
fucking laying
people.
down justice with his fists. Yeah, it's
simple premise, basically. I mean, basically just like a nicer version of the Peacemaker.
and it's just not. There's no moral gray area in Reacher. Reacher's the good guy, even though he commits so many felonies. Anyway, that's a totally different fucking.
That's
topic.
a whole other video.
But it's on Amazon as well. That's the kind of stuff that they're going to keep pumping money and time into. Rings of Power, they've already so over-invested on it, and they already committed to I think it's a number of hours they have to do. So I think it ended up being like a 40-hour show is what they have to do. So it's always been, it was always going to happen, I guess. I mean, that works out great if you're J. Michael Straczynski and you're writing 5-season arc for Babylon 5. That's the kind of person you should fucking be giving your 5 seasons to. But
yes.
we're never going to see the Wheel of Time again on screen, I don't think. But if we do, I think they need to take one solid lesson from this. Trim the book down. There are things you can trim out.
Yeah.
Totally accept that. Trim the book and make it animated.
Yes. Make it animated. That would solve so many problems. Yeah, get all the end like the really stupid parts where not okay, when I say really stupid, everything is more or less important in Wheel of Time, but you don't need to like in the Eye of the World, you don't need to show every single tavern and inn they stop at on the way to the Eye of the World. You can show one or two like the main people like Master Gill and things like that, and Camelin, like get the people who will be reoccurring later on, should be reoccurring later on in the show. And then couple that, with the animation, making the power way more interesting, realistic. You can do so many more. You can have so many more like fun fight scenes.
The
and
creatures can look so much more threatening.
Yeah, Loyal could actually look the way I envision Loyal should look, and not
9 feet tall and like 5.5 feet wide. Just a tree of a person.
Yes.
Solid.
Yeah.
Thick.
Solid. And
slow.
And not even just... And speaking of tree of a person, you could have had the tree man.
You could have had the Green Man.
Man.
Yeah, think about how cool... Yeah, animation thrives on those kind of pictures and scenery. Just think about something classic animation like Snow White. The trees that come alive in the darkness, the way that the backgrounds are created and move, and how ominous and threatening you can make something because you're not trying to be photorealistic with it, so you can play into our imaginations better.
Yeah,
that's something that it's very difficult to do with live action adaptations. It's something that's so fantastical.
Yeah,
with creatures and powers and locations that are otherworldly and magical.
Yeah, like the anime thing was the only reasons why War of the Rohirrim worked. I mean, everything else about that movie sucked and the plot is awful.
But the animation was good.
Okay, wait. When I say the animation was good, no, there were parts.
I mean, the medium was
the medium was good, yes, but like they screwed up that medium because there's certain parts that don't even look alike.
Well, it was very clearly a movie made to maintain the rights.
Unfortunately, I know it was, but
it got a theatrical release, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but like as the main point, they're like, it worked way better because it was animated. You can just, I mean, like the Oliphant scene is kind of interesting because the one that gets killed by the swamp creature that's trying to be the Watcher in the Waters in the wrong location looks mad. I mean, like actually, like it looks like the animal looks insane. In its eyes, there is like this kind of like tremoring madness that you can't get in reality, that you can do on an animated style because everything plays into how the subconscious perceives what you're seeing. So had you just taken that type of style and put it into Wheel of Time, I mean, that would have just been so excellent. I mean, I would have loved it.
I think that would have been great. Now, another possibility, and this is like, I mean, beyond a pipe dream. This is like, I've been chasing the dragon for 10 years kind of pipe dream.
Okay.
They do a Serenity type thing where Sony, who owns the rights, says, all right, fuck it. The 3 seasons are the foundational, like, to a movie or a series of movies. Now, they have to do at least 2
you couldn't
movies.
do just one.
I have no idea how you'd make it into a movie. There's so much that has to fucking happen. So to condense that down would almost, like, maybe even be worse, but this is an possibility for some way that they could resolve the season, because Sony has a huge movie production studio of its own. Make a couple like 2.5 hour, 3 hour movies, really heavily focus the plot on Rand. and then have major moments where you've got Gawyn and Nynaeve and Matt and all the ancillary characters do stuff, and probably find more ways for Rand to interact with them. Traveling exists, you can have a little more conversational kind of stuff if you want. You could maybe do that. That would be a way of resolving it. I don't see that happening either. I just don't know if there's enough I don't know, audience for it. Yeah, like unless you're like Peter Jackson is signed on to direct Wheel of Time, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is gonna bring people. Or Guillermo del Toro has signed on to direct Wheel of Time. All right, sign me the fuck up. Show me some fucking like horror elements of Wheel of Time.
Tarantino, you got one movie left.
Oh my god.
In.
Yes, and you can even call it Wheel of Time Part 2 and Part 3 or whatever. Just like Kill Bill and Part 2, 1 and 2 is one movie.
One movie. Yeah. Oh yes, Pulp Fiction this up.
Oh my god, I have no idea what that would look like, but I'd love to.
I'd love to
hop into the portal stone to that world real quick and watch that misty image.
Yes, that would be very fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I think that about wraps it up for us today. Farewell to the Wheel of Time on Prime. Rafe, you disappoint me, sir. It is what it is.
Yep, definitely. And you are now elevated to the illustrious category of unfinished people in the same respect as George R. R. Martin.
On that slow burn.
Very slow.
Till next time, guys, take care. Enjoy the books for now and for always. We'll always have them.
And stay tuned for our Rings of Power coverage.